After 5 years of marriage, I accidentally discovered that my husband, who dotes on me like his life depends on it, has a secret villa. I secretly followed him, only to see with my own eyes that in broad daylight, he was getting physically close to a woman, his gaze filled with a desire I knew all too well. The woman smiled flirtatiously. "Mr. Jason, you're in such a hurry. When are you going to marry me? You've been giving your wife birth control pills all these years, haven't you? Isn't it so she can never get pregnant and will take the initiative to ask for a divorce?" Jason frowned. "Enough. Be careful about the birth control pills. You absolutely cannot harm Willa's health." After a pause, he said again, "If you dare cause trouble in front of her, I will definitely make you pay the price." The woman smiled and nodded, snuggling into his arms coquettishly. The two turned and went into the house. Before the door was fully closed, ambiguous sounds came from inside, and my heart gradually grew cold. It turned out that the man who once said he loved me as his life had long since changed his heart. Since that's the case, I will make sure he never finds me for the rest of his life. I ran out of the villa area as if fleeing for my life, wandering aimlessly on the street, and it was already late at night when I got home. As usual, the nanny brought me a cup of steaming health soup, waiting for me to drink it. I smelled a faint hint of blood in the cup, and my thoughts drifted away involuntarily. During the physical exam in the year of our wedding, the doctor said I had a weak constitution and it would be difficult for me to get pregnant. Jason felt heartbroken for me and searched everywhere for a famous doctor. He finally found a folk remedy that said using a man's heart blood as medicine could help regulate the body. Without saying a word, he used a syringe every day to draw blood from his chest and personally brewed a health tonic. Seeing the dense needle scars on his chest, I felt very distressed. To not let down his efforts, I endured the bloody taste and drank it continuously for 5 years. I thought he, like me, was looking forward to having a baby that belonged to both of us. Who knew, he would rather hurt himself than let me conceive his child. When Jason pushed the door open and came in, he happened to see me staring blankly while holding a bowl of medicine. He wrapped his arms around my shoulders from behind and gently asked, "What are you thinking about, baby? If you don't drink it soon, it will get cold." I carefully examined the gentle and considerate man in front of me, my gaze wandering back and forth over him. He had changed clothes, and his hair was still damp, clearly just coming back from a shower. But no matter how he tried to hide it, the mark behind his ear gave him away. The faint scent of his cologne instantly reminded me of their intimate moments. "It's nothing, maybe I was out in the suburbs today and caught some wind. I just find this soup especially fishy." His expression instantly became awkward. "Why did you go out to the suburbs? It's so cold in this weather, did you run into anyone?" I shook my head, placed the cup on the coffee table, and teasingly tested him. "Can I stop drinking this soup from now on? I've been drinking it for so long with no effect, I must have been fooled." His tense body immediately relaxed, he pulled me into his arms and gently scratched my nose. "Our baby is throwing a little tantrum again, don't want to have a baby for your husband anymore." Saying that, he picked up the cup again. "Come, let me feed you." His eyes were full of deep affection, and the tenderness in them could intoxicate me. With red-rimmed eyes, I asked again, "Do you really want to drink it?" He was momentarily stunned, then smiled and nodded, feeding me the soup spoonful by spoonful until it was finished. I drank mechanically, the bitterness almost bringing tears to my eyes. He was so determined not to let me bear his child. Actually, if he had a new love, he could have just said so directly. I would have left on my own, there was no need for such elaborate measures. After taking the medicine, Jason tenderly wiped the tears from my face. He waved the servants away and skillfully helped me take off my clothes and bathe. He always tirelessly took care of my daily life. At first, I felt a bit embarrassed and wanted to call a maid to serve me. He gazed at me intensely. "Baby, with such a beautiful figure, I can't bear to let others see it. You can only be mine." He personally handles all the big and small matters in life and enjoys it. What's even rarer is that after 5 years of marriage, he has only ever had me. He doesn't even have a female secretary at the company. Jason is young, capable, and holds a high position. Even the chairman once hinted that he should find a secretary to share the workload. But he refused publicly, preferring to work overtime alone until late at night. Seeing his eyes bloodshot from staying up late, and his thin body barely filling out his suit, I pitifully scolded him for being foolish. He smiled and comforted me, "Don't worry, my love. I'd rather offend the whole world than make you unhappy." At that time, I felt like the happiest woman in the world. Everyone in the circle knew that the president of H group had a little wife who was spoiled to the heavens, and they were all envious. But that woman named Evie just now made me feel a sense of estrangement toward my husband of many years. All the sweetness over the years seemed to have turned into a lie. When I came to my senses, I was already wrapped in a bathrobe, held on Jason's lap. He kissed my neck gently, and I instinctively dodged, so sleepy, no. Jason was momentarily stunned, then gently stroked my hair, helped me lie down, and carefully covered me with a blanket. When his breathing became steady, I quietly opened my eyes. The man beside me was still holding me tightly in his sleep. His love for me was so deep, could it really be fake? The next morning, Jason was excited to take me to the cherry blossom garden in the suburbs to enjoy the flowers. Before he finished speaking, his phone rang. After the other party said a few words, Jason frowned and immediately interrupted, "I'm off today, I've already said no one is allowed to disturb me." I gently tugged at the corner of his shirt, "Honey, don't be angry, it might be something urgent." Saying that, I signaled him to answer the call. Just as the person on the phone was speaking, Jason quickly walked to the balcony, leaving me outside. He looked conflicted and uneasy as he looked at me. "Baby," I suddenly remembered, "there really is an important meeting that hasn't been held. I'll be back soon, I promise to return before the cherry blossoms are in full bloom." I quietly stared at him, although the voice on the phone was soft, the tone was gentle. Jason was acting so unusually. But I still forced myself to stay calm and said calmly, "Since it's an important meeting, you should go. No need to rush back." Hearing this, Jason quickly turned around and walked away briskly. Until the sound of the elevator doors closing came, a bitter smile appeared at the corner of my mouth. This was the first time he chose another woman. I was restless, hesitated for a moment, but still quietly followed him. As soon as I arrived at the garage, I heard Jason's voice. I hid in the shadows and saw Jason scolding the woman in front of him. "How dare you come here directly?" The woman's delicate voice came. "Jason, I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to." The woman immediately took Jason's hand and gently placed it on her lower abdomen. "The doctor said I'm pregnant. I was so excited that I came here. I wanted to tell you as soon as possible." Jason stood there stunned, and after a moment, he spoke with a noticeably softened tone. "Since you're pregnant, you should rest well at home. Why are you running around everywhere?" The woman looked like she was about to cry, speaking coquettishly, "I just want to quickly share this good news with Mr. Jason. Can you stay with me for a while today?" Jason coldly refused, "I promised to stay with Willa." The woman was unwilling and leaned close to his ear to whisper a few words. Jason instantly became interested, pulling her into his arms and caressing her freely, laughing softly, "You little enchantress. The old rule applies, no traces can be left behind." Watching Jason's indulgent side, my heart felt like it was pierced by a sharp blade. Over the years, he had always maintained a mature and steady image in front of me, even during intimate moments he was restrained and measured. I had never seen him so frivolous and unrestrained. I saw Jason carefully helping Evie into the car, and then the vehicle gently started to sway. After a long while, the car settled into silence and slowly drove away. I followed behind, driving all the way, witnessing Jason accompany her as they tried on jewelry at a luxury boutique, watching them walk hand in hand down the street. Finally, sitting close together, sharing a bowl of wontons from a street-side shop. At last, they drove off to the suburbs, chatting and laughing. From afar, I saw it was in the direction of that villa. It turned out that Jason could be so considerate and attentive to other women as well. After staring for a long time until my eyes felt sore, I finally looked away and drove home. On the way home, images of Jason touching the woman's belly kept flashing through my mind. Thinking about how for the past 5 years, I was forced to drink that health soup mixed with his blood every day, I felt indescribably upset. I once comforted myself that even if he deceived me, it didn't mean he had no feelings for me, maybe he just didn't want children. But just now, he clearly cared so much about the child in Evie's belly. I recalled what he said before we got married, only two people who truly love each other can bring new life into the world. It turns out he never truly loved me, which is why he schemed to prevent me from having his child. But I don't understand, if he didn't love me, why did he deceive me for so many years? I returned to the bedroom in a daze, throwing everything related to him into the trash bin. The customized cosmetics he gave me, the limited edition bags he collected for me, the countless photos we took together, only after clearing them all away did my heart feel a little better. No, there was one more thing. I rushed into his study and found that notebook in the most obvious drawer. From the moment we met until now, he had recorded all my likes and habits, and over the years, it had become a thick book. I flipped through the yellowed pages, and every line of writing stabbed at my eyes. Willa likes sweets and dislikes sour food, so prepare dessert for every meal in the kitchen. Willa is afraid of the cold, so the heater should be turned on in the room by September. Willa is scared at night and likes to hold me while sleeping. I love Willa so much, I must never let her cry. They say words are the truest, but how can all this overflowing love be fake? I tore the pages one by one, venting the pain inside my heart. Suddenly, I saw a wallet I had never seen before, and my hand involuntarily opened it. Inside the compartment, a woman's charming and beautiful selfie was carefully kept, with the back inscribed, "Willing to be the eternal light in your life." October 5, 2018. I collapsed to the ground, tears uncontrollably streaming down. That was when we had been newlyweds for a month. It turned out that Jason had already changed his heart back then. I was such a complete fool. The food on the dining table was reheated again and again, and I waved my hand to dismiss the nanny. "I'm tired, no need to wait anymore." The servant looked surprised. "Miss Willa, aren't you waiting for Mr. Jason? Didn't Mr. Jason say he would definitely come back tonight to accompany you to see the cherry blossoms?" I shook my head and quietly walked into the bathroom. He would never come back. The next morning, I opened my eyes and saw Jason kneeling by the bed, full of guilt. "Willa, I'm sorry. I was too busy with work yesterday and lost track of time. I broke my promise." I stared at him blankly. Who would have thought that Mr. Jason, who dominates the business world, would kneel and apologize to me for breaking a promise? Such a perfect husband, no one would bear to blame him. Seeing that I didn't speak, he grabbed my hand and asked me to hit him. "If you're angry, just hit me once to vent, okay?" I gently shook my head. "I'm not angry, I just feel sorry for those cherry blossoms." In the end, I still didn't get to see them. Jason, relieved, held my hand and kissed the back of it deeply. "Silly, there will be plenty of chances. I promise to take you to see them." After saying that, he hurried off to the company. I stared blankly at his upright figure. "Jason, from now on, we won't have any more chances." After he left, I asked the driver to pick up Evie. The woman supported her waist and slowly walked up to me, staring at me fearlessly. "Miss Willa, you really recognized me yesterday." I carefully examined her. A slender figure, a delicate little face, a typical internet celebrity look. I investigated privately. On the third day after the wedding, he went to the south to inspect a project, and it was there that he met Evie. He was hospitalized due to a sudden high fever, and in a confused state, he mistook Evie for me. One reckless night took away her first time. Afterwards, he was filled with guilt, brought her to City B, settled her in a suburban villa, and accompanied her every day. That day, I followed him to the villa. Everything was luxurious and exquisite, all crafted with care. His feelings for her must be very deep. A pang of sadness welled up in my heart. Evie saw my melancholy expression and showed a triumphant smile. "Miss Willa, everyone says Mr. Jason spoils you, but to me, you're the most miserable woman. Your partner gives you contraceptive pills every day, yet he has a child with me. What kind of logic is that? You don't know, do you? He comes to the villa to be with me every day. Have you ever seen how wild he is in bed? He says the socialites raised in City B are too pretentious, and only I can truly ignite his desire. Every time, I have to beg him to stop." As she spoke, she unbuttoned her clothes, revealing snow-white skin. Her delicate skin was covered with ambiguous red marks. My throat tightened, and I quickly looked away. "Look, these are all left by him. He's always like this, losing control whenever he's excited, making me unable to get out of bed the next day. Mr. Jason said that when you find out you can't have children, you will definitely take the initiative to ask for a divorce. I just need to wait patiently. She spoke a lot in one breath, so much that I found it hard to digest at once. In the end, I found that my heart had already gone numb. Jason is really calculating. I leaned weakly against the sofa, silent for a long time before struggling to speak. If that's the case, I'll give you the position of the CEO's wife. I no longer want the identity of the wife of the president of Group H. Jason, I don't want you either. After Evie left, Jason's secretary sent a message saying that he had to go abroad temporarily for a project and would return in about half a month. This is probably fate's arrangement. I silently packed all my luggage and got into the pre-booked car heading to the airport. Jason, you have probably forgotten that vow. If one day you change your heart, no matter how far to the ends of the earth, I will make sure you can never find me. Jason had been back from abroad for half a month, and he hadn't even had time to put down his luggage before rushing hurriedly into the bedroom. At this moment, he longed so much to see the woman he thought about day and night, his Willa. He just wanted to hold her tightly in his arms. But when he pushed open the door, he saw Evie gently touching her belly and smiling at him. Jason felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave. Why are you in Willa's room? What exactly have you done? Evie bit her lip in grievance. Jason, I didn't, it was Miss Willa who asked someone to call me here. A surge of immense fear welled up inside Jason. Willa, she knows? Willa, where is Willa? He searched the villa frantically as if losing his mind, but he couldn't find the figure that tugged at his heartstrings anywhere. He could only grab the servant, his eyes reddening as he asked urgently, Miss Willa? Where exactly has Miss Willa gone? The servant Lily took out a pair of couple rings and a divorce agreement, choking up as she said, Miss Willa has left. She asked me to return this to you. She said you broke your promise, but she always remembered her own. She said you don't need to look for her anymore, no matter how far, in this life, you will never meet again. Jason took the ring, his fingers trembling slightly as he rubbed the engraving on the inside. When they first got engaged, they engraved each other's names on the inside of their rings. Now, she has worn down the inside of her ring, leaving only his lonely one behind. Only then did he recall what they said during their passionate love. Jason, if you betray me, I will make sure you never find me. He never imagined that the usually gentle and considerate little woman would be so resolute, even leaving him a divorce agreement. No, Willa will definitely come back. I just made the mistake that all men make. How could she do this? Jason could never accept the fact that Willa had already left. He frantically searched the house, trying to find any trace she had left behind. But he had almost turned the entire villa upside down and still couldn't find anything related to Willa. He rushed into the study, the garden, the living room. All her photos in the study were gone. The roses they had planted together in the garden were uprooted, leaving only an empty flower bed. The decorative paintings she had hung with her own hands in the living room were replaced with new ones. Everything related to her in this house had disappeared without a trace, as if she had never existed. How could this happen? What about those things? The love letters I wrote to her? Why can't I find them? Did you hide them? The servants had never seen the CEO lose control like this, they all lowered their heads and dared not speak. Only Lily trembled as she said, Miss Willa disposed of all these a few days ago. She said that people's hearts have changed, so there was no need to keep these things. Jason was in so much pain he could barely breathe. A few days ago, she already knew. How did she find out? It must be you. Jason tightly grabbed Evie's neck, questioning fiercely. It has to be you, otherwise how would Willa know? That day you appeared without permission, Willa must have found out. Evie grabbed his hand in terror, shaking her head desperately. Evie! I warned you, don't cause trouble in front of Willa. Evie looked at the man in front of her in fear, she was still carrying his child, yet he was so cruel. No, Mr. Jason, I didn't do it on purpose. Please, for the sake of the child, let me go. Jason's eyes were bloodshot. Child? You still dare to mention the child now? You must have been showing off in front of Willa and drove her away. He kicked hard at Evie's slightly swollen belly. The woman immediately clutched her stomach in pain and fell to the ground, blood gradually seeping out beneath her. She begged Jason desperately, but was kicked away with a single foot. I told you, you are nothing but a mistress who can't be seen in the light, and you actually dared to make a scene in front of Willa. I don't even have the heart to let her be hurt, yet you bully her relying on the thing in your belly. Security. Drag her out and get rid of the cursed thing in her belly. Evie let out a miserable scream, no, and then fainted. Jason tore the divorce agreement to pieces, holding the wedding ring dumbly, crying like a child all night long. Lily looked at the man in front of her, lost and distraught, and couldn't help but say another sentence. Mr. Jason, Miss Willa went to the suburban villa. I don't know what she saw, but when she came back, she was completely off, her eyes swollen from crying. Jason felt as if struck by lightning, his heart painfully torn apart. It turned out she found out so early. She even witnessed me being with Evie. Willa, how desperate she must have been. Just thinking about the woman he cherished in the palm of his hand going through such a blow tore his heart like a knife, and his vision darkened. Jason is after all a business elite. Even in great pain, he immediately mobilized all resources and launched a citywide search to find me. It's just that I have been gone for half a month. Even if he uses more resources, finding me is not an easy task. I prepared a large amount of cash and a fake passport in advance, flew to Europe, bought a seaside apartment in a coastal town, and hired 2 local nannies to take care of daily life. Along the way, I adopted a baby boy abandoned in a hospital. With a bit of disguise, living as a single mother, life was rather peaceful and stable. As time passed, I gradually adapted to the role of a mother and named the child Ethan. With his company, life became fulfilling and warm. I quietly enjoyed the leisurely life in a foreign small town while secretly keeping an eye on the news back home. Since I left, Jason first sent people to search in various Southeast Asian countries. He himself traveled all over Asia but never found any trace of me, even once being hospitalized due to overwork. Later, he went to the United States and used all the overseas connections our family had to look for me. What caught him off guard was that I chose to settle in Europe. I had long told him that I hated Europe. My mother was abandoned there by my father and died in melancholy. I thought he would give up quickly, after all, he still had Evie and the child. But he searched for a whole 3 years. I increasingly don't understand, if his heart belongs to someone else, why is he so persistent in looking for me? He clearly dotes on Evie so much, so why doesn't he stay peacefully with her and the child? Perhaps, he is just greedy and never knows how to cherish the person in front of him. One day later, I ran into him at the supermarket while holding Ethan's hand. The moment he saw me, his eyes lit up instantly. I finally found you. Willa, I know I was wrong. Please forgive me, come back with me, I swear I will only love you for the rest of my life. I looked at him coldly, a sarcastic smile tugging at the corner of my mouth. The child grabbed the hem of my clothes and asked innocently, Mom, who is this uncle? Why does he know you? Jason's gaze fell on the child, his lips trembling, and after a long time, he managed to squeeze out a sentence. Willa, how do you have a child? I raised an eyebrow. You gave me contraceptive pills for 5 years, not letting me have your child. Now that we are divorced, who I have children with is none of your business. Jason, you are meddling way too much. Jason staggered, you even know about the contraceptive pills. It's not like that, let me explain. I picked up Ethan and left without looking back. He followed me all the way back to the apartment, and I slammed the security door shut to keep him outside. He didn't make a fuss and just sat quietly in the hallway waiting. Every time I go out, I see him, he always hands me something. Sometimes it's imported snacks, sometimes children's toys. Where is the child's father? He cautiously probed. He's dead. A trace of joy flashed in his eyes as he said solemnly, Willa, come back with me. I will treat this child as my own. I shook off his hand and said coldly, no need. He is the one who betrayed me, the one who drugged me, so what's the point of clinging to me like this now? He still stayed downstairs, until the neighbors no longer found it strange. I finally couldn't bear it anymore and told the security guard to drive him away. Since the day you betrayed me, it's already over between us. Your persistent clinging now really disgusts me. Don't forget, the child in Evie's belly is your own. He wore a hurt expression, apologizing hoarsely without stopping. Seeing that I remained indifferent, he lowered his hands and sighed, asking, Willa, what exactly do I have to do for you to forgive me? Never. I closed the door. Night fell, and the first snow of winter began to fall. I looked out the window at the biting cold and, unable to bear it, had the nanny bring him a thick quilt. But the nanny was somewhat surprised. Miss Willa, that gentleman left at dusk. He's already gone. I repeated silently, a strange sense of loss welling up in my heart. This man was really insincere. He said during the day that he wouldn't leave no matter what, but in the blink of an eye, he gave up. I sensed the turmoil in my heart and found it laughable. Having been hurt once, how could I still hold expectations for him? Later I found out, his group's biggest competitor reported Jason to the Securities Regulatory Commission. He was called back for several consecutive emergency meetings. When leaving, Jason silently repeated countless times in his heart, Willa, wait for me, I will spend the rest of my life making it up to you. Even if you never talk to me again. After returning to the country, he was restricted from leaving City B. The competitor had always looked down on him and often tried to find trouble for him, though mostly it was baseless rumors. But this time, the report was well-founded. It was said that Jason's project in the South involved violations, with specific times and places, and even witnesses testifying. If he weren't innocent, even Jason himself would have believed it. Project violations were enough to ruin him completely. Even Jason, a giant in the business world, could only be under house arrest waiting for the investigation results. He was utterly baffled, wondering who exactly wanted to frame him like this. Until one late night, when Evie, who was supposed to be hanging out at a bar, suddenly appeared, and he finally realized the truth. She was covered in designer brands, adorned with pearls and jewels, wearing only limited edition jewelry on her hands. It turned out that day, after she was forced to have an abortion, she was taken in by her competitor Martin. When Evie saw Jason, her eyes were filled with hatred. Jason, when you abandoned me, did you ever think you'd end up like this? Did you really think I loved you? Fool. I only got close to you to extract business secrets. Let me tell you, when I was with you, I was no longer pure. I gave my first time to Martin. All those past events were part of my plan. Evie pulled out the fruit knife she always carried and stabbed fiercely at Jason. Poor my child. That was the flesh and blood of Martin and me, yet you used it as a tool for revenge. You were deceived by the doctor, making Willa take contraceptives for 3 years, causing her to leave in despair. That's karma. Do you know? Your foolish wife still thinks you deliberately prevented her from getting pregnant to force her to suggest you find someone else. Jason only realized how absurdly wrong he was after hearing her words. They actually started planning this so early. Back then, the doctor said Willa was physically weak and that pregnancy could be life-threatening, so he ruthlessly coaxed her to take birth control pills every day. In the end, it was all a scheme by the woman in front of him. If it weren't for this, they might have had a lovely child long ago. After all these years, he actually let a woman with ulterior motives approach him, causing Willa to leave heartbroken. He destroyed this relationship with his own hands. Jason remained motionless, letting Evie stab him again and again. Only the physical pain could slightly ease the torment in his heart. Willa, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. Jason listened to her every word, thinking of the pain Willa endured, blood rushing to his head, vomiting continuously. Yet a bitter smile hung at the corner of his mouth as he whispered, Willa, this is the punishment I deserve for betraying you. Willa, I truly deserve to die. Evie vented her anger until the security guards rushed in and subdued her, and only then did Jason barely keep his life. Later, the prosecutor's office personally handled his case. Faced with various accusations, he fully confessed. Even if he hadn't committed those wrongs, a bastard like him had no right to live in this world. Maybe only when he dies will Willa be able to forgive him. He was sentenced to death as he wished. When netizens learned about the mistress he kept, public opinion erupted, and many praised the woman for her courage. Jason became a hated pariah. I thought he was an honest businessman, always boasting about his loyalty, but it was all just a facade of moral integrity. People like him pretend to be respectable on the surface but lead a life of debauchery behind the scenes. He deserved this. His wife is so pitiful, thinking she found a good husband, but it was all a lie. If he hadn't been greedy for beauty and kept a mistress, would his crimes have been exposed? Jason knew how the internet judged him. All of this was his own doing. He lost his mind, he deserved it. He had wronged Willa. The day he was sentenced to life imprisonment, I held Ethan and went to see him one last time. When Jason and I locked eyes through the glass window, he froze on the spot. I never imagined that our next meeting would be to send him off on his final journey. Once a commanding business elite, so full of vigor and spirit, he has now become a prisoner. His gaze fell on Ethan in my arms, filled with regret. Willa, you don't know how much I wanted our child, it's all my fault. At the moment I turned to leave, he smiled and closed his eyes, silently saying, Willa, I will forever owe you. Willa, you are the one I love most in this life. I don't know when, but tears were streaming down my face. Before I left, the detention center police handed me an item. It was a couple's bracelet, worn and faded from washing. It was the year Jason confessed to me. I personally braided and gave it to him. He always wore it on his hand, never taking it off. Memories return to the past. A young couple embraces amid falling cherry blossoms, the boy tightly clutching a bracelet in his palm, making a firm promise. Willa, I will marry you once I succeed in my business. Later, he worked step by step to succeed, becoming a business tycoon and held a grand wedding for her. Yet he personally pushed her away. From then on, he could never find the woman he deeply loved. Later, I heard that Martin used Edie to bring down Jason, then immediately abandoned her and threw her into the lowest-class nightclub on the outskirts of the city. She was tormented and abused by various guests every day, and died not long after. When I heard this news, I felt very uneasy. After all, Evie was just a pitiful person blinded by love. She trusted her man so much that she was willing to become someone else's pawn at any cost, just hoping to grow old with him. But after all the scheming, in the end, she got nothing. In the power games of wealthy families, it is always the women who get hurt. The story ends.